recording now.
Okay, great. So thank you for joining. My name is Ben Schreiber, and my master's research project is called Designing for Trust. So I want to start by telling you a little story about how I decided to do this topic. 2 years ago, I was in Australia on stage at an international business competition. I was pitching to investors, and as a team, we were trying to convince our investors about our idea. But I overlooked the importance of articulating why the investors should trust us, or why we as a team should be trusted to pull it off. And I learned that there's a big difference between being convinced of a new product and trusting a new product. And I realized this trust gap as soon as the judges asked their first question. So I learned that I had to bridge that trust gap before selling investors on just product attributes. And I became really interested in how to get new customers to trust new products. So this project is born out of that resource I wish I had 2 years ago. And it's really made for those interested in creating products with widespread adoption that are aimed for long-term customer success. And it takes a particularly digital finance product focus, which is partly influenced because of my professional interest. I work at a major Canadian bank in the digital division. So this presentation has 6 components, and just as a note, this will be, you'll see this at the bottom of each slide to keep track of where we are. So there's 2 core research questions in this project. The first is, how might we design for trust? So for this, I took quite an explanatory approach. I used design thinking and a double diamond process. I used qualitative as well as quantitative data. And this resulted in me producing a model of how customers and products develop trust. The second research question is, how might customers trust digital financial products in the future? So as it's futures focused, it's very exploratory and speculative. I use a 2x2 foresight matrix, and the data was qualitative as well as a few primary research interviews. And so before we get started, there's also 2 core subject areas in my MRP, and both have a valuable rationale for exploration. So first, there's room to improve a shared understanding of the relationship between trust, design, and product adoption. And so while experience design and trust dictate how a customer feels about a product experience, trust is really poorly defined and rarely measured. So this is an opportunity to contribute learnings. The second is that digital delivery of financial products and services actually allows for widespread financial access. In turn, financial access is the cornerstone of financial health. Again, in turn, financial health is actually a driver of change, and it's a foundational component for positive social and health outcomes. So therefore, I actually believe it's important to understand how we can design for better financial experiences to get valuable products into the hands of more people, all the while creating net positive impact. But lastly, an issue with new products is actually barriers to adoption. So some groups don't want to use new products and services simply because they don't trust it. So every 10 to 15 years, we as consumers receive some major experience innovation in financial products. Sometimes it's driven by technology. So this slide shows some of those new experiences, these experience innovations over the past 60 years. Each era has its own barriers to adoption. So for example, we're on the far right side in the smartphone era. Not all people today who have phones and financial access to banks use smartphone banking. So there's some barriers here. And as we see, in the next 5 to 10 years, we're almost overdue for another major experience innovation in personal financial products. So as with any innovation, there's going to be barriers to adoption. And I believe that trust is one of those barriers to adoption. So I wanted to develop a framework that helps explain this phenomenon. Okay, so the key points on trust. The trust model I developed is founded on these 2 core concepts, which come from a literature review I did. So first, to develop trust, you must demonstrate trustworthiness. In other words, trust is actually a response. So for product A to get the trust of customer B, product A has to demonstrate trustworthiness to the customer. So the second core concept is that there's literature that shows that trust actually has three building blocks, three components: integrity, competence, and reliability. So overall, developing trust is about demonstrating trustworthiness, and trust has three core components. So this is the foundation of most of my work. Okay, so to improve a shared understanding, my work started by categorizing ways that we could actually demonstrate trust in the digital product age. So I call this the taxonomy of trust. And it was made to provide specificity to each of those three broad building blocks. So some examples. To demonstrate integrity, stating a very clear customer value proposition is a great way. I mean, also, we're all familiar with 5-star review systems. That's a great way to demonstrate reliability. So there's many familiar components here. However, a major gap I've noticed is that trust is never described in terms of how a customer experiences a product, which leads us to say that describing trust along a customer journey is a gap in work. So to describe trust in terms of the customer journey, let's use a story of how a customer experiences using PayPal. So PayPal is a digital finance money transfer system started in 1999. It's a huge company today. But customers at the time didn't know if they could trust an internet money company. So to start to attract new customers, PayPal had to overcome a barrier. PayPal had to demonstrate to customers that they understood the fear of sending money to someone you didn't know. PayPal had to demonstrate transparency in the process to get customers over that barrier. And for new customers in the early part of their journey, it was more important that PayPal demonstrate to customers that their concerns were being heard rather than demonstrate how reliable their service was. So fast forward, now take a customer of PayPal at the end of their customer journey. So the customer has used PayPal a few times, and what's most important to these customers is that they feel they can rely on the product before they refer a friend or family member to PayPal. So to maximize product adoption and to get the network effects of referrals, the most important thing PayPal had to do was to demonstrate that their product was reliable. Okay, so let's look back at the customer journey. At the beginning, PayPal's #1 job was to demonstrate to new customers that they were being heard, that their needs were being heard. And at the end of the journey, PayPal's job was to demonstrate how reliable their product is to get that referral of service. So if you swap out the language, the original three building blocks, we see that from the product's perspective, there's an inversion of demonstrating trustworthiness from the beginning to the end of a journey. So we're starting to see where the model is coming. The simplified trust adoption cycle model starts to appear. It combines the trust inversion with the diffusion of innovation theory and combines it with some customer marketing funnels and behavioral economics principles. So this part of the model shows the most important component of trust to demonstrate at each journey stage. Okay, so this is the full trust adoption cycle model that I wanted to share with you. The main ideas of the model, to repeat again, are namely that trust is developed between a product and a customer as a result of demonstrating trustworthiness in a cycle, starting with demonstrating integrity. We also see the cyclic nature of the trust adoption cycle arise. So at each stage, a product should be demonstrating a different component of trust to a customer, all the while cycling through each of the other three stages. So this is useful for product people who want to launch a widespread transactional type product. Okay, so this is the first half of the work. The second half deals with the futures of trust. So after I developed the trust adoption cycle model, which I believe describes the present day situation, I needed to answer the second research question. How might customers trust digital financial products in the future? And so for that, I used a 2x2 scenario matrix foresight process with a timeline of 15 years. So that's the historical span between major experience innovations in personal finances. So as a refresher, foresight is a strategy method, right? It's used to create unexpected visions of the future that are useful for leaders in digital finance to develop better long-term strategies. So that's the purpose of it. But to get a stronger grasp of what like a realistic or plausible future might be, I had to get a better understanding of the most important trends and drivers today. And so for that, I interviewed 10 senior leaders, from CEOs of fairly large companies to chief digital officers, people responsible for huge shifts in how customers experience products. And these interviews helped me identify the most critical and important drivers. So I want to share a couple with you. So the drivers here are represented as on the X and Y axis. And what they do is they articulate the most important aspects that will contribute to the future of digital finance, but that we don't yet know how will actually play out in the future. So that's why they're critical, but uncertain. So the first, on the Y-axis, will the future of financial service providers be larger, more gargantuan big banks? Or will we actually see a plethora of new fintechs and non-traditional financial players? So one example of the new financial players are firms like Four Seasons or Gucci or Disney. You know, they're known as the pinnacle of customer service firms. But what if they expand their current loyalty card offerings to something that, to more financial products? What if in 10 years, we're being serviced by Gucci Bank and Disney Bank? So the second critical uncertainty is on the X-axis, which is how will customers of the future want to be serviced? What is the nature of customer service demand? So on the far right, will customers want low-touch products that the products will decide for them and require very little customer input? Or will we have a future of really high-touch products that offer maximum attention and 24/7 assistant capabilities and constant companion type interactions? So those two critical uncertainties help me develop some 4 futures. Now, each of those scenarios is in the black circles there, and each is given a name to invoke some allusion to a familiar phenomenon. So we'll talk about one of them in the bottom right corner. I hope it's bottom right for you. That's banking under the hood. So what's this future? This future invokes kind of the mental image of how people operate their car, right? So people use their car, but very few look under the hood to make decisions about fixing their engine. They leave that to the professionals, right? So all you have to do for when your car is under the hood is remember that little tag in the top corner of your windshield that says change your oil in 12 months. So similarly, in this plausible future world of digital personal finance, the big banks have become much bigger, and the customer service demands a low touch type product. So customers want to offload their cognitive load of finances and defer their decision making to their financial products, to leave the finance under the hood. So it follows that if customers are interacting with their products less frequently, then there's going to be less demand for a highly transparent, high integrity product. And with fewer interactions, customers just need to know that their financial product just works. And so they'll mostly care about how infrequently they'll be forced to make a decision, rather than caring about how their products are making a decision for them. So in other words, customers may care more about the product's competence and reliability than they do about the integrity. So in this plausible future, the implication is that the stages of the trust adoption cycle may change, right? So products might have to start by demonstrating competence and then reliability and then integrity, because the nature of customer service demand has changed. So this is a change from the proposed model I presented about the present day. Okay, so in conclusion, I had 2 major research questions. How might we design for trust? And I took a design thinking approach that I produced 2 original contributions. The first is the Taxonomy of Trust. So helps people give more specificity to when we say, how do you demonstrate trust? The second is the trust adoption cycle model, which describes how to demonstrate trust in relation to a customer's stage in their journey. So the question number two, the research question number two, how might customers trust digital financial products in the future? I think the nature of customer service demand will be a major critical uncertainty, which will affect how customers trust products in the future. And therefore, product designers, product developers, and business leaders should take note of how customers want their products to service their needs. So I know that was a lot. Thank you very much. That is the end of the presentation, and I'm happy to answer any and all questions.